old friends, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. So, how vast is this uh, landscape of the unconscious mind? The power and the scope of the dictator. Is it only dark there? Is it some light? Is there some love?
The vast majority of what's happening in your head, you're unaware of. So in a literal sense, the unconscious, the aspects of your mind that you're not conscious of, is the overwhelming majority. But that's just true in a literal engineering sense. Your mind is doing lots of low-level things, and you just can't be consciously aware of all that low-level stuff. But there's plenty of room there for lots of things you're not aware of.
Mhm. But can we try to shine a light at the things we're unaware of? Specifically, now again, staying with the philosophical psychology side for a moment. Can you shine the light in the Youngin Shadow? What's going on there? What is this machine like? Like what level of thoughts are happening there? Is it something that we can even interpret? If we somehow could visualize it, is it something that's human interpretable, or is it just a kind of chaos of like monitoring different systems in the body, making sure you're happy, making sure you're fed, all those kind of basic forces that form abstractions on top of each other, and they're not introspective at all?
We humans are social creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Plausibly, being social is the main reason we have these unusually large brains. Therefore, most of our brain is devoted to being social. And so the things we're very obsessed with and constantly paying attention to are, how do I look to others? What would others think of me if they knew these various things they might learn about me?
So that's close to being fundamental to what it means to be human, is caring what others think.
Right. To be trying to present a story that would be okay for what other things, but we're very constantly thinking, what do other people think?
So let me ask you this question then about you, Robin Hanson, who many places, sometimes for fun, sometimes as a basic statement of principle, likes to disagree with the majority of people think. So how do you explain? How are you self-deceiving yourself in this task? And how are you being why is the dictator manipulating you inside your head to be self-critical? Like, there's norms. Why do you want to stand out in this way? Why do you want to challenge the norms in this way?
Almost by definition, I can't tell you what I'm deceiving myself about. But the more practical strategy that's quite feasible is to ask about what are typical things that most people deceive themselves about, and then to own up to those particular things.
Sure. What's a good one?
So, for example, I can very much acknowledge that I would like to be well thought of.
Yes.
That I would be seeking attention and glory and praise.
Yes.
From my intellectual work, and that would be a major agenda driving my intellectual attempts.
Mm-hmm.
So, if there were topics that other people would find less interesting, I might be less interested in those for that reason, for example. I might want to find topics where other people are interested, and I might want to go for the glory of finding a big insight rather than a small one, mm-hmm. and maybe one that was especially surprising. That's also, of course, consistent with some more ideal concept of what an intellectual should be. But most intellectuals are relatively risk-averse. They are in some local intellectual tradition, and they are adding to that, and they are conforming to the sort of usual assumptions and usual accepted beliefs and practices of a particular area so that they can be accepted in that area and, treated as part of the community. But you might think, for the purpose of the larger intellectual project of understanding the world better, people should be less eager to just add a little bit to some tradition, and they should be looking for what's neglected between the major traditions and major questions. They should be looking for assumptions maybe we're making that are wrong. They should be looking at things that are very surprising, like things that would be you would have thought a priori unlikely, that once you are convinced of it, you find that to be very important and a big update, right? So you could say that one motivation I might have is less motivated to be sort of comfortably accepted into some particular intellectual community and more willing to just go for these more fundamental long shots that should be very important if you could find them.
which would, if you can find them, would get you
Attention,
appreciated
respect.
across a larger number of people across the longer time span of history.
Right.
So, like, maybe the small local community will say you suck,
Right.
you must conform, but the larger community will see the brilliance of you breaking out of the cage of the small conformity
Right.
into a larger cage. There's always a bigger
Right.
cage, and then you'll be remembered by more.